Hello, 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 and my name is Sarah. Welcome to the Visual Podcast. And Sarah appeared, and I honestly wanted to say that a lot of people are afraid of vulnerability because when you are going through the phases of doing the work, when you are going through the phases of changing and healing and unlearning, but also becoming at the same time, it's easy to judge and it's easy to point fingers. And I'm not saying that it's not sometimes something that's warranted, but it's if we look at the response that we have to vulnerability. And I just literally was fueled because I was watching Caresha Police, and I love Caresha's podcast, and I was watching her interview with Herbo, and Herbo was just genuinely himself. Like, he was like, I'm not a cheater, but I've cheated. And I thought that was a real statement right there. It's like, yeah, I've had a moment, but that's not who I am. That's not normalcy for me. And so Herbo was talking about his cheating was coming from, like, he had PTSD, traumatic events that was going on. And the question came about him being in the mix with another female. But one thing that I found that was so, like, I don't know, it was so refreshing to hear him actually say, from a spirit and a soul level, like, Herbo was just basically saying, I cheated on my girl with my work and being in the studio before I ever cheated on her in with another individual. And I just thought that was like, yo, like, that's real talk. Like, that's real talk. Like, at first it started with, just taking it out of your mind and busying yourself with something else because you don't know how to show up and be there for someone who needs you, which he was talking about. Ari was dealing with postpartum stress disorder after having her child, which is a real thing. And so he was dealing with PTSD because he had a situation where one of his homeboys was no longer with us anymore. And it brought out, like, the worst in them, but instead of them being vulnerable enough with each other to express it, they drifted away, or he actually drifted away, because we all know Miss Ari she gonna say what she gotta say, right? But he drifted away. He buried himself in work, and then it shifted when he got burnt out or when he got bored with that endeavor. It shifted for him into an actual physical person. So for him to, like, explain the levels that he went through in drifting away, it was just like, I really appreciated that. I really appreciated that because not a lot of people would admit that, male or female. Like, I don't think that's something that a lot of people, as far as at his status, at his level, and from him having, like, the street background that he had, a lot of people would not be so open to talk about, I acted out of my relationship not because of anything that the other party did to me, but because I was just dealing with childhood trauma. I was acting out. And sometimes you have a fight or flight response when it comes to trauma. Like, you either run in the opposite direction of whatever it is that's triggering you in that scenario, or you fight against the very thing that's triggering a response in you. Whichever way your mind and your body resonates with whatever the decision is, or the response to the decision to make you safe, that's what's going to happen. So Herbo was basically talking about, yeah, I had a fight or flight response, and I didn't want to fight the person I love because they were already going through what they were going through, but I flew up out of there because I just didn't know how to respond. I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know really how to deal with that. And so he talks about his growth, and now, like, he's even at the point where with his previous, baby mama, with that situation, he's even able to go to a birthday party, and just be there, out of solidarity because they do share a son, and be there out of respect, but also like be there with his friends and whatever, and see old people. I think the biggest thing that was so like, the reason why this episode was just like so bomb, especially around the holidays and putting out there peace, love, happiness, and growth and joy and everything else, I think, how laid back and how vulnerable, honest, raw, and real about emotions, past traumas, also, admitting and saying when you were the bad guy in this situation, his accountability, everything was very refreshing. And, it just made me reflect and think back on my own platform and how I'm appreciative of the growth that I've been able to produce on my platform. And the reason why is because my message is still the same. You're not going to have the best time in life. You're not always going to be happy when you're on your walk with Christ, but you don't stop walking with him. And when you don't stop walking with him, my life is a living testimony. It's not going to be, but it already is a testimony to what happens when you keep walking with God. No matter what twists, turns, or how far you get off track, when you keep walking with God, he'll steer you in the land that you're supposed to be in. He'll steer you to the promise that he has you in. And sometimes it takes a little bit of a process, but keep going with God, like keep walking with him. And it's like at the end, because of everything, and I also look at what Herbo was talking about when it comes to, he didn't allude to it, but when the questions correspond to like the breakdown of some of what he's been going through over the past years, it's just a testament of, just keep focus on what the end goal and what the plan is for your life. But in order to know that, you've got to be able to have that conversation with God. And sometimes you're not even able to have that conversation because you so pent up and blocked up with everything that's been happening in your past. So Herbo let go of a lot of stuff. He not only let go of a lot of stuff, but he actually no longer even resides in Chicago, but he be out there. But he don't reside there because he puts his family first, and, he understands that there's more, to this life, and there's more for me. And even though he never forgot where he came from, with that being said, he understands how it built him to be the person that he is today. It's triumph that's found in the middle of the trial. Like, I love this episode. I love the playfulness and the back and forth, and really like the friendship that Caresha and Herbo have. So definitely check it out. It is G Herbo Talks with Caresha, please. And bye for now.